Hello and welcome again to my YouTube channel. Today featuring this very dramatic lighting. Is fantastic and indeed very dramatic. Today the topic is Kurdish again. If you saw the last video, if you watched it, you know that I'm currently in Kurdistan, particularly near the border with Turkey. I am within Iran, within the Kurdish autonomous region of Iraq, and I'm very, very close to the Turkish border and the Syrian border, and I am in Yazidi area. If you don't know anything about the Yazidi, they are a Kurdish minority, and they are spread here in Iraq as well as in other regions. In Turkey there is also a number of Yazidi, and there are also Yazidis in Armenia as well, and maybe other regions, I don't know. I'm right now in collaborating with an NGO, and I'm working as an English teacher here for kids that live in the camp. And in the meantime, I'm learning Kurdish, which was also the topic of the last video, but today we're going to make an update because I am right now in a way better position to talk about the dialect of Kurdish that is spoken here, and as something that I promised in the last video that I would talk about more specifically about words and grammar and so on. So we are going to talk about let's call this Yazidi Kurdish, because when they talk about it themselves, they used to say Kurmanji Kurdish, but again, as I said in my last video, usually the word Kurmanji applies to a huge region that includes this area, but most of Turkey as well. So there are huge differences between the standard, let's say, standard Kurmanji that is spoken elsewhere, and this Kurmanji as spoken exactly where I am in this area of Kurdistan. So let's dive in changes. So if you know anything about Kurdish, let's say that you know the standard Kurmanji Kurdish that you may know. For example, as I quoted in the last video, there's a Kurdi or other Kurmanji Kurdish teaching materials. There is a book, a PDF I mentioned in the last video, Kurmanji Kurdish for beginners, and there are other videos and books and stuff. So differences. First, let's talk about the personal pronouns, because and this is something that it's not only happens here but elsewhere, is that the a changes here into a. So for example, in the I in Kurmanji standard, let's call it standard Kurmanji, would be as. Here is as, and eu, which is he or she, becomes au. Okay, this goes also to we and us, because m would be in a standard Kurmanji, and here becomes am with an a sound. Number two, there is a huge amount of Arabic in this particular dialect of Kurdish. Many words, and I mean many, that maybe exist in other Kurdish dialects absolutely disappeared, and the Arab is used. For example, I was talking about birds. Birds in Kurdish is tir or teir, which, if you know Arabic, you will be familiar with. Ta'ir is the word in Arabic for bird. Not only that, they will mix expressions. For example, they would say Evar bkhair. Evar is evening, and they will mix. If you know Arabic, you know that bkhair means good, well, and so on. So this is used in this dialect of Kurdish instead of, for example, Evar bash. Good would be, bash is the word for good in Kurdish, and they use it here as well, but not when in certain occasions, like for example saying good evening. Again, Evar bkhair. They use both Medina and Asima. If you know Arabic, you know Asima is usually for capital, and Medina is city. They use both things for city. They also use Ghurfa or Ghurfa, pronounced as exactly as in Arabic. They would use Ghurfa for room instead of other Kurdish word, and for example, they would use both Re and Shara, which, if you know Arabic, Sharia is street. They would use that for both, meaning like street, like in a city or town or something, and like road, like an open road somewhere. They would use also mitbach to mean kitchen, which in Arabic is matbach, so it's very similar. And for example, instead of malbat, which is the standard Kurdish word, a standard Kurmanji word for family, they would use Eila or Aila, exactly like in Arabic, Aila. Here we enter in this realm because obviously standard Kurdish has many Arabic words. I'm just saying that there are more Arabic words in this dialect than in standard Kurdish. So other characteristics of Kurmanji Kurdish, apart from the vocabulary and some changes in vowels. I'm talking right now about grammar changes. Grammar. If you know, for example, a standard Kurmanji, you will notice that when talking in present tense, you have this particle that is a D that you add in front of the root of the verb. So here, this particle absolutely disappears. Even in the present tense, this particle is not used. So, for example, when conjugating a verb in this dialect of Kurdish, you will not use these particles of the present. For example, let's take a particular verb and talk about the conjugation of the verb to go, which is a very basic, it's a very basic verb. I'm reading now from my own notes the conjugation of the verb to go in standard Kurmanji. Be dichim, I go, dichi, you go, diche, he goes or she goes, and all the plural, we, you plural, and they, dichim. That would be the standard. Now, from the notes I'm taking from talking with people, as İçma dikana, tu çi dikana, au çe dikana, am çne dikana. That is, I go to the market, you go to the market, he goes to the market, and we go to the market. All right. Now, this is something that used to happen as well in certain verbs. For example, in the verb to know, for example, there is no the particle at the beginning of the verb. Now, the verb to have, the idea of verb to have, because to have, the concept of to have as a verb doesn't exist. If you know a standard Kurmanji, this is also the case in Kurmanji, as well as in other languages such as Arabic, for example, which uses a preposition attached to a personal pronoun in order to express the idea of to have, like عندي قلم, right? So this is also the case But here, and this is, there is some certain degree of difference with the standard Kurmanji, is that here you would use the word in ezafe, then add the oblique case of the personal pronoun, and then add a final word that is basically there is. Like, so in overall, the idea, the way you express possession is, for example, my pen there is. So I have a pen. So just for you to have an idea, for example, I have rice. Okay, I have rice. I cooked rice. I have it. It's mine. So in a standard that would be min. So to me, birinç he. That would be like very standard. But what people would say here is birinca. So is birinç, but in ezafe, birinca min he. So my rice there is. So I have rice. So birinca te he, birinca vi he, birinca ma he. Okay. So another change just to illustrate these differences is the idea to understand, which is a wee bit different. So for example, and I will take this from standard Kurdish, as fem dikim would be the standard Kurdish for I understand. Here in this dialect they would say min fim ker. So if you see the conjugation, there is no conjugation, it's always third person singular. Min fimker, te fimker, we fimker, ma fimker. So and if I want to see the negative, for example, I will use just the first person singular, min fim nekar. So it's always third person, so it's not like an active, it's not an active verb, it's actually like the thought comes to me, let's say. So my thought happens, kar, works. So I don't want to make this video any longer. If you want to know more about things, about the standard, about this dialect in particular of Kurdish, just let me know and I can make more videos about this Kurdish dialect. For me it's very fascinating, and it's great to be doing kind of a field job, so to say, like collecting from what people say, everywhere in the streets. So it's really fascinating. So thank you very much. Consider subscribing to the channel if you haven't, and give a like and leave a comment if you want, and see you next time.